Satya Dhamma Reflection on July the 5th, 2022. Disregard from the disregard itself. This is not about being obsessed to maintain the projecting mind or maintain the mind on and on. Use the reminder of disregard from the disregard itself. This is not to be in the stillness or this is depending on your conclusion. Otherwise, you're gonna be stuck being dull by yourself. No, it's not no itself. It's cutting, natural cutting, uninvolved within the uninvolved itself. Is the natural cutting. Remind oneself as such more often. Then there is gonna be the natural cutting. Just follow cutting the knowing accordingly. While you have the conclusion, then there is the helping for samsara to cut through accordingly as well, naturally. Remind oneself of the purification. Cut through the cutting itself, the reminder that cut through itself. Keep your eyes and ears opening. This is the benefit for all. Oneself and others is simultaneous. Keep your eyes and all the perceptions opening. The state of mind doesn't grasp itself. The mind doesn't grasp itself. Disregard doesn't grasp itself. No grasping even for the non-grasping itself. Disregard from the disregard itself. No grasping for the disregard itself. No grasping for the non-grasping itself. Don't maintain anything. This is maintaining of lifetimes, of cycle of becoming. Instead, purify realms of existence, which is the maintaining of the mind itself. All realms of existence is derived from the maintaining of the mind, maintaining within the mind. Disregard from the disregard itself will purify cycle of becoming. Stillness and indifference is still realm of existence, child. Disregard from the disregard itself. Just like the disregard that doesn't grasp itself. Purify the maintaining of the mind, the attempt to maintain the mind. Each reminder is the blessing. Therefore, you need to use perseverance in blessing. Each reminder is an assumed of the great compassion. Therefore, it should be assumed with perseverance because it cannot happen by itself. You need to assume it, but it is for blessing. Once you use the reminder that purifies itself constantly, it will naturally reach everywhere and everything. But the reminder that doesn't purify itself is going to continue onwards as such, uninvolved within the uninvolved itself. It will release and unlock all knots. This is the great compassion. Each sentence has compassion and great compassion. So you need to assume perseverance. This will be simultaneous benefits for oneself and others, because this benefit has nothing to do with someone gaining or losing anything. It's not about gaining or losing anything. Simultaneous purification of the extinction and the emptiness. We have to often remind oneself with this essence. Uninvolved within the uninvolved itself. No is not no itself. This is self-purification. No is not no itself. The no purifies itself. Uninvolved within the uninvolved itself. The uninvolved purifies itself. Therefore, each reminder is like one of the Buddha in itself. It has the essence of cutting, natural cutting in itself for samsara. Why do we have to constantly proceeding with the essence? Because the maintaining of the mind of samsara still exists. We do this for purifying for samsara. The attempt to maintain, to the well, will be purified for samsara. Stillness or indifference cannot be used because it's still a state of mind. Disregard from the disregard itself will cut off the maintaining within stillness and indifference. This is called cutting realm of existence. Disregard from the disregard itself. Disregard from the disregard itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself. This is cutting off the maintaining within oneself, cutting off realms of existence within oneself, within one's own state of mind. Uninvolved within the uninvolved itself, it will uninvolve naturally accordingly. Disregard even from the disregard itself, it will cut off accordingly. The disregard will cut off itself accordingly, naturally. Samsara is tremendous. Therefore, don't look at samsara that is not finished or finished. Continue to help through ending and cutting. Whether samsara is still remaining or not, this or that, just share the essence evenly for all. Conclusion of the enlightenment to be given evenly for all and everything. Disregard even from the disregard itself is the self-cutting. This is not about cutting something, because otherwise it will not be truly cutting. Thinking about trying to let go of something is not letting go truly. Uninvolved within the uninvolved itself is actually the let go of the let go itself, which is cut off everything totally for samsara. Thinking of letting go of something is not truly let go, because the let go doesn't let go of itself. Thinking about trying to cut something, that is the fixation. The attempt to cut is the fixation. It doesn't cut the cutting itself. Thinking of disregarding something is not truly disregarding, as the disregard doesn't disregard itself. Listen well, then there will be no grasping mind, grasping for cutting, grasping for fixating, grasping for not fixating. It will end all this, cutting or not cutting. Disregard from the disregard itself. This is not about disregard something. Attempting to disregard or not disregard is not truly disregarding. It is a titi. It is a fabrication of titi. Disregard from the disregard itself. This is the titi that purifies itself, the assume that purifies itself, the cutting that cuts off itself. Therefore, one must assume the reminder of cutting within itself, because it is the compassion and great compassion for the internal and the external. This is cutting off the knowing for samsara. It has to be more frequent, otherwise everyone will be on one's own thinking mind. It will be exhausted. You need to share in moderation the essence, otherwise it's going to be exhausted. Just simply open up your palms on one side or both sides, but the essence comes out throughout all the senses and sense perceptions, throughout the whole body and mind. The whole body radiates throughout its senses. The whole body is like a holy place, and there are so many who will try to receive it. They compete to get it. For example, like the Buddha relics, they compete to get it. The tale regarding Buddha's relics. Brahmins are the one who distributes them, including the ashes, and then putting the relic of the tooth of the Buddha behind the hair. Nevertheless, it's stolen by Indra. Have to hide it behind the hair. But the Deva or the angels also stole it. Buddha relics must be placed in an appropriate place. This is storytelling. When they are told that the whole body of the Buddhas is holy, they compete to get relics from his remains, which is only something on the surface, not the true essence at all. The heavens is still dense with its beingness. Humans also the same. Cut through the cutting itself. Otherwise it's going to be so dense, so sticky, and not aligned with the true essence. Disregard even from the disregard itself, child. Cut off the cutting itself, remind oneself more frequently of this essence. Uninvolved within the uninvolved itself. Each sentence is the enlightenment. Is cutting the knowing. Follow the cutting of the knowing or the enlightenment accordingly, and remind oneself more frequently. Otherwise, the attempt to dwell within feelings, emotions, and state of mind will be aggravated, because it's a habit. Attempt to dwell is the habits of everyone. Therefore, one must remind oneself of the essence of cutting deluded knowing. Cut through the cutting itself. uninvolved within the uninvolved itself. This is not to make the people search for anything, because it's the samudaya. Even to analyze something, disregard, even from the disregard itself, uninvolved within the uninvolved itself. This is a complete essence. You don't need to chew anything, just swallow directly. It's completed in itself. There is no need to grind further. Just swallow it. There is no need to manage to cook it anymore, because it's been given in a complete package. There is no need to deludedly criticize or analyze to become a samudaya. Just follow it, because if you do something more from the essence, it's going to be stained. It becomes a fabrication. It becomes a fabrication that creates stains towards that which is not about anything, that which is already complete cutting in its natural way. Words of the Buddhas have the cutting in itself. There is impossible to add more opinions and meanings in it. Disregard, even from the disregard itself. Just follow this natural cutting accordingly. Self-cutting has to be followed accordingly. There is no system of lingering, prolonging. Uninvolved within the uninvolved itself. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Remind oneself frequently of the essence. No fixated to even the non-fixation itself. Not attached even to the non-attachment itself. Even being direct is not about anything within itself. So let alone going around. Once you go straight like that, it's going to be distorted already. Nothing is within being direct, let alone going around. Even cutting is not about anything within cutting, let alone not cutting obsessively. Nothing is within cutting itself. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, the disregard that is not itself. The disregard doesn't signify anything within itself. Simultaneous benefits for all. Every sentence has the great compassion in itself. Each reminder has the great compassion for all and everything already. This is not at the mind or any state of mind. This is not about attributes of the mind. Beware. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, is not about the mind. It's not any state of mind or any attributes of the mind. This is not about knowing or not knowing, seeing or not seeing anything. This is not about having thoughts or no thoughts. This is not about being empty or not empty. It's not about trying to be empty or not empty, gaining liberation or not liberation. Disregard from the disregard itself. Well, it's not about the mind. It's not about involvement with the mind. It's not about attributes of the aggregates, body, mind. That's why it's called the purification of the extinction and the emptiness. That's why we need to often make a conclusion with the essence. because the mind is already assumed in existence. We have to purify through Nirodha constantly. There is no need to be in whatever ways with the body and the mind. Use the conclusion of the purification right away. However the body mind exists or assumed, continue to conclude through the essence of the cutting knowing continuously. Body mind is just a medium for samsara through the essence, that's all. There is no need to tie or to untie in whatever ways again. Let's make a conclusion with the essence of cutting the knowing continuously. Simultaneous purification internally and externally will be there all by itself. Uninvolved within the uninvolved itself. This is not about trying to uninvolve with something. This is the let go of the let go itself. It's not about trying to let go of something. It is not about trying to put down something. Put down the put down itself. Uninvolved within the uninvolved itself. Frequently remind oneself of this essence. And it will be proceeding uninvolvement accordingly, naturally. No matter where you are going to be, it has to be amidst all and everything in samsara in the way of blessing. Just continue to make a conclusion for blessing. The fearful mind that is there is because of there is still the maintaining. When there is self-purification in the conclusion itself, the maintaining will disappear. The fearful mind will disappear, will be disappeared through the conclusion. Maintaining a lot, it seems stable, that is deceiving. So when there is no maintaining, it seems shaken or sensitive. It is because of the state of anicca, according to the anicca. When the maintaining disappears, all the sensitivity and the shaking mind will disappear. But it's not wrong. Huh? This kind of mind is not wrong. But the maintaining, it becomes like a worry that overlays. It will disappear naturally. Huh? Disregard from the disregard itself, it will discard the maintaining of the state of mind. All the sensitivities in the form of anicca will disappear naturally. Maintaining is itself anicca. There is no need to be so sensitive. However, it is shifting and changing like anicca at all times. When you maintain something, it's like maintaining the anicca. But if you try to hold on to it and being rigid, this is fixation heavily in the state of mind. Let's continue to conclude with the essence. It will disappear. Where you are going to be born in the samsara, just be amidst samsara through the conclusion of the essence of the enlightenment. Once there is a completion of disregard from the disregard itself, the shaken mind will be disappeared all by itself. Once the disregard is not given significance to itself well, then that kind of mind will end itself naturally. Give no significance to the disregard. Furthermore, if you know already about the disregard, if you realize it, then continue onwards. Naturally, it will give no significance to the disregard itself, unmoved with the disregard or not. Naturally, it will just follow through disregarding accordingly. In between disregard or not, it's still difficult. This is the karmic difficulties of the samudaya. If there is the desire that is still lingering there, there is the attempt to disregard and not on and on. So the conclusion has to be made often. Disregard from the disregard itself until there is no significance to the disregard or not, all by itself. Disregard from the disregard itself. Give no significance to the disregard itself. Use the reminder to purify frequently. Don't sink in one's own mind like buffaloes. See how the buffaloes walking. They are sinking within themselves at any manners. The disregard is not itself. It doesn't signify itself. Remind frequently with the essence is the great compassion, so that there will be simultaneous purification internally and externally. Simultaneous purification, simultaneous cutting. This is natural cutting that is simultaneous for the internal and the external. Help through natural cutting simultaneously. This is the great compassion. Keep your eyes and ears and all senses open. The anupap will be on its own of the natural cutting. The important point is don't live like buffaloes, sinking in oneself in all manners, looking, sinking in the looking, knowing, sinking within the knowing. Therefore, the world is full of buffaloes. Disregard even from the disregard itself. This is natural cutting within itself. Frequently remind oneself of the self-cutting, because it is the great compassion. It is simultaneous proceeding for the internal and the external. Natural cutting within itself simultaneously. This is cutting within itself and help through cutting for samsara. This is simultaneous proceeding. So let there be the great compassion through the reminder of the essence.